Yeah, boy. Bruh. Yo, what's up? Welcome to another build guide. So first of all, I wanted to explain how we found this build and how we created our own version. So one of my friends, he just searched for POE videos all the time. He tries to find some not known hidden builds, alright? So he somehow found a Hiltless build, a random YouTuber, or he's not even a YouTuber, maybe, anyways. Put a video maybe a couple of months ago, something like that, with like 50 views, maybe 30 views, not even 100, alright? There is no path of building link. He asked for the, to the guy, he didn't even respond, so there was no path of building at all. So what we saw is he's playing Molten Strike with Hiltless, as far as we can see, that is what the video title was, and he was just face tanking bosses, something like that. We also noticed that he has permanent adrenaline on the top of our screen, obviously on his screen, but that was obviously 3 seconds, so that is how we actually noticed that he is using all roads charge boots. So we started to investigate, the internet. We just searching for builds, we cannot find anything. Then we actually thought that we should maybe search TFT Discord. Maybe someone made a similar version, maybe that guy sold his build, I don't know. So we tried to search for Hiltless build, Molten Strike on TFT Discord, want to sell builds. Then we found a path of building actually, but that wasn't his path of building, probably because that was a worse version as far as I could tell. But we found an example actually to something, you know, so we can actually work on that. So we eventually worked on that and created our own version. We also made this build way tankier. Maybe we are actually close to the original guy on the YouTube. He doesn't even, again, shared his path of building or anything. So yeah, this is this build. Not sure if you guys saw this build, but again, we cannot find anything. This is probably a hidden build. Maybe this is even bugged, by the way. So let's just explain what's going on with this build. Hiltless weapon. So what is special about this weapon is it actually has decent DPS, by the way, for a two-handed maybe. It also has life tap support, so this means that it is gonna be free actually. It has 7 link, and you don't have to worry about mana. I didn't even get any mana leech. We don't need any mana, alright? But this says actually enemies you attack reflect 100 physical damage to you. So this means that you actually get reflect damage, but 100 is nothing, so you won't die, alright? So combining this with Allroad's charge, 20 chaos boots, gain adrenaline for 3 seconds when ward breaks. So we want to play champion because that makes more sense. He has first to strike, last to fall, passive. Your hits permanently intimidate, those kind of stuff, and you normally gain low life, what's that, adrenaline for 20 seconds when you reach low life, if you do not have adrenaline. And you also recover 25% of your life instantly, so huge healing actually, once you gain adrenaline. And also you remove ailments and burning, whatever, so this, you actually technically immune to ailments, let's say. So even if you have adrenaline, if you break your ward, because you reflect damage to yourself, and Allroad's boots says that gain adrenaline for 3 seconds when ward breaks. Even if you have 3 seconds of adrenaline, maybe 2 seconds left, it doesn't matter. If you break your ward again, you will actually gain adrenaline again. And that champion's passive, recover 20% of your 25% of your life, remove ailments, burning, they all work non-stop. And something else to mention, you will say, how do you break your ward all the time? We are obviously using Iron Flask. Restores ward on use, but how do we permanently press it? This is not a Mage Blood build, or maybe Mage Blood doesn't even work with this flask, I don't know. So how to abuse this? So this is the part that I am probably thinking it can be a bug. My friend says it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense to me. If you put gain charges when you are hit by an enemy on your flasks, if you reflect that damage to yourself, it actually counts as you take damage from an enemy. So reflect damage taken actually counts as an enemy damage for some reason. You actually hit yourself all the time. And also restore, you know, fill your flasks non-stop. Just check my flask bar in the game play, alright? You will see that my flasks are just getting filled and used all the time. So here is the synergy between these items, Hiltless plus Allroad charge plus gain charge when you are hit by an enemy flasks. You obviously need a ward flask, so you can actually restore that ward and pop it all the time, so you actually gain adrenaline non-stop. So why is this build powerful? Alright, what does this gonna do to us, you know? So let's say you are at Maven, Uber Maven obviously, you already watched the clips maybe, but I will maybe also put all the clips on a separate video, because these kind of videos are actually getting longer, plus build guide, plus like, let's say 10 different boss fights, so the video easily goes up to 1 hour. So maybe I will have a separate video in my channel, obviously check the description, those kind of stuff, check my channel, maybe I have all the Uber bosses in my channel, alright? So you can easily face tank Uber Maven's Cascade of Pain, because she just shoots rusts of projectiles, and each projectile easily breaks your ward, even if you don't even attack, you know. But you are obviously also attacking, refilling your flasks with the abuse mechanic. You will just pop that adrenaline all the time, 25% instant heals all the time. So it is possible to face tank some ridiculous shit with this build. I also face tanked Uber Searing Exarch's Annihilation ability, which just deletes most other builds instantly. But I actually tried it like 5 times, succeed at 3 attempts. I actually also died on the other 2, I believe. So sometimes you still die to that, because that is a stupidly overpowered ability. But there are some possibilities with this build. The DPS is also fine, because I'm using Interrogation for Brittle, Scorch, those kind of stuff. Molten Strike, one of the best melee skills in the game. Face tanking easily with this build. So in the end, it is a very powerful build. I killed every Uber boss, all the invitations. anything that you can think of. I then gave the build to my friend because he was the one who found that Hiltless video at first. He wanted to try this. So we actually made this build together, created path of building, everything. So I gave the build to him. He also did Simulacrum. I don't have any Simulacrum clips, unfortunately, but you can easily do that. Simulacrum is a joke with this build. Anyways, yes, this is an all content. Different build, maybe hidden build. Again, we couldn't find any source. That's why I wanted to create this video. So let's just explain rest of the stuff. So this was the synergy. This might get fixed or nerfed. I don't know. This sounds stupid. Again, maybe this is even bugged. So if you are right now in Sentinel League, if you are watching this video in 3.18, I highly suggest you to play this build if you are interested in it, because maybe that will get fixed later on if this is a bug. I don't know. So Molten Strike, lots of projectiles. We obviously want to increase the projectile number. That's why I'm using a GMP support. Once you have the budget, Awakened GMP. You also want to have lower area effect and lower projectiles, so the projectiles can actually land close to the boss. That's why we also use slower projectile support. And also get some slow projectile nodes on the talent tree, something that reduces the projectile speed. So projectile mastery actually has less projectile speed. So those kind of stuff to lower the projectile speed, so our actually all the balls that Molten Strike shoots can actually hit the target. Maybe we still sometimes miss, I don't know how that gets calculated. It is impossible, obviously, by the look of your eye, you know. You cannot see if you hit all the projectiles or not. But in the end, it hits most of the projectiles, it seems, because the DPS was respectable. So if you are not sure about Molten Strike, if you maybe watch a Molten Strike video for the first time, I actually have a lot of them in my channel because I play melee skills most of the times. You will actually see in your path of building, you know, something like 3 million DPS, 2 million DPS, alright, depending on your budget. That is actually DPS for per ball. You want to multiply that with the ball number, more or less. So we had 10 balls with 3 million DPS each. So I actually have something like 30 million DPS in the end. So your path of building will only show the DPS for one ball. You also have a melee hit, by the way. It is also like 3 million. So maybe 33 million DPS in the end with my gear. Interrogation build. So how to use interrogation and Trinity support. Let's just explain that. Molten Strike already converts 60% of physical to fire damage, and Hiltless already is a physical weapon. You want to convert the rest with Watcher's Eye Jewel. Hatred, physical damage to cold conversion. This is super cheap, no one uses this. We also got Anger multiplier, because we also use Anger Aura, Fire Aura. This combination is right now non-meta because it doesn't make any sense normally. This was 150k once I bought it. So maybe it is right now expensive after the video is out. Maybe you can get another combination because the buffs we are using. Hatred, Grace. I will just explain the defensive in a second, let's say. For the DPS, alright. Hatred, Anger, Precision, only a couple of levels. So you can actually get Precision, attack damage, attack speed, or crit multiplier. So another Watcher's Eye option. Hatred, Anger, yeah, that is it. We also have Purity of Eyes. You can also use another Purity. So let's just explain the rest of the buffs and why I use those. So you can get another Watcher's Eye in the end, but make sure you get that conversion. Or maybe you can use the conversion gloves. It can also exist on rare gloves. So you make sure that you have actually a cold conversion also. So you can actually use the Trinity support, apply Brittle Scorch for some good DPS. That's it about this. So rest of the auras, we have Grace and Determination at the same time for some defense. Also Defiance banner to boost those values. Because I also use Perseverance belt. An easy way to get DPS on a champion build. Increase attack damage per 200 of the lowest armor or evasion. So if you have 100k armor and 110k evasion, let's say, armor is gonna be lower because it is 100k, alright? So you will actually get 100k divided by, where's the belt? 200, I believe, and multiply that with 1%, I believe. So that much attack damage. So you want to scale evasion and armor at the same time. That's why we use both of the auras. In my path of building, I can see that I have 134k thousand whatever evasion. I will just put the pictures anyways. I'm not gonna even pronounce, try to read those numbers, alright? So yeah, this was the amount of evasion and armor I had. So just do the math yourself if you want to see how much DPS Perseverance actually grants. This also grants us free Fortify, not free Fortify, free Onslaught while we have Fortify. Because this is a champion build, we already have permanent Fortify, so Onslaught and lots of DPS at the same time. That's about the synergy. I'm also using a Purity, so if you skip Purity, this build is way cheaper, by the way. Normally this build is not expensive with the gems, maybe Awaken gems, it is maybe like 50 Exalt. Because GMP is, I believe, 15 or 16 Exalt, I couldn't remember the price right now. But without those kind of expensive gems, this build is maybe 20 Exalt at most, I don't know, maybe even lower, because most pieces doesn't even worth anything. Belt is cheap, boot 20 chaos, Hiltless, no one uses that. The rest of the pieces are actually rare. Butcher's Eye again, with maybe only one modifier, it is like 30 chaos. Interrogation is 70 chaos, because no one can afford Omniscience, that's why it is super cheap this league. Yeah, that's pretty much. The build is maybe even less than 10 Exalt to start. But if you want to be tankier and also achieve more DPS, you obviously need to spend more or less 50 Exalt with the Awakened gems and everything. Rest of the auras. So we have Hatred and Anger for main DPS auras. Because we reserve so much stuff, we actually want some of them to be free. Actually, these both auras are free, so here is how. All's Uprising Amulet. This can be Anger or Hatred, it doesn't matter. Whichever is cheaper, just go and buy it. I used Hatred because it was cheap. We want to use the other aura on a Divine Blessing setup. So this is a common way to use a free aura on any build with life tap and increased duration support. So it actually costs life instead of mana, so you don't have to worry about anything. Increased duration helps, so it actually lasts for longer duration. So this is like 18 seconds of buff aura, free aura actually. You need to press on bosses or while mapping also. And final buff, Purity. First of all, you can skip this entirely. This is what makes the build more tankier, but also harder to keep resist. Maybe a little bit expensive gear, alright? So if you just want to try the build first, just skip Purity and skip Melding of the Flesh. Because this build had the potential to face tank most of the stuff, I just wanted to make sure I use everything I can. That's why I also wanted to use Melding of Flesh, which made obviously capping resist harder. So one thing you will ask, because this build already has unending flasks, can't you use a flask that provides resistance? Yes, this build has unending flasks, but I need to actually attack something. So let's say I am at Maven, I may be dodging some stuff, she's maybe doing her memory game, or maybe the other monster just arrived, so you need to dodge stuff, go outside, go in again. You know, some bosses have those kind of phases where you don't attack anything, you just move, dodge stuff. On those scenarios, we actually run out of flasks because we are not hitting anything, we cannot get any charges back. So if you just, if you didn't keep your resist, maybe you rely on a flask. On those kind of situations, you can actually die if you just get it by something. That's why I didn't want to do that. That is why I actually kept my resistances normally. So that made it actually harder. But something to mention, we actually used 2 rare jewels. My character was always the high level. You can actually maybe squeeze in lots of resistances on those and skip some damage. My rare jewels actually doesn't provide resistances as far as I can see. Only one of them actually has a little bit of resist. So maybe if you can get a better gear, resist jewels maybe, you can still easily cap your resistances. Or maybe just skip a little bit DPS. Normally this build already has overkill DPS for all content, by the way. 30 million DPS is more than enough for anything. So yeah, that explains why we are using Melding of Flesh. So here is what's going on with Purity. Because we want a level 23 Purity, so we can actually hit the next breakpoint, which is +5 all resistances, which will get scaled with non-curse aura effect and those kind of other effects, aura effects, let's say. You can also obviously get +1 to that desired resistance. So first of all, you don't have to pick Purity of Ice. That is what I picked. You can also play with Purity of Fire or Lightning. It doesn't matter what you pick. I just wanted to build my character on Purity of Ice actually. So how to do this 23 levels? Get a level 20 or maybe 21 level gem. Actually my gem was 20 because my ring already provided +3 socketed gems. So I just got an unset ring with +3. There is also +2. Maybe it will be cheaper. If you get a +2, meaning that you actually needed level 21 corrupted Purity of something. So that way you can still hit level 23. So in the end, your unset ring should be able to make your purity level 23. So you can actually get that +5 and that will get scaled to more maximum resist actually. I played this build with, what is this, 87 resistances. I couldn't do 90. It doesn't matter. You are still tank enough. Maybe if you can figure some things out, maybe you can push that 90 resist, which you won't need actually. This build already has 100% spell suppression, huge armor and evasion, permanent fortified stun immunity, non-stop healing. This is a stupid powerful build anyways. So you don't need that 90. You can still again play maybe without Melding of Flesh. You can still just do the regular content, including Feared, those kind of stuff. But Feared, even with this build, is a little bit challenging with the Height of Hubris, those kind of new keystones, notables on the talent tree, because all bosses released at the same time, which is not that good, obviously. So yeah, you mainly die to chaos damage maybe, because I couldn't get much chaos resist. It was hard to keep my regular resistances. So you mainly die to chaos damage maybe, or degeneration effects, because we are not getting protection against those actually. But anything that hits you, any spell hit, attack hit, you will be probably unkillable against those. This was all about the gems auras, so let's just explain rest of the items, and that's gonna be it. So already explained the weapon, Hiltless, Allroad Charge Boots, Owl's Uprising Amulet, and Perseverance Belt. Rest of the 5 pieces are rare items. You will probably get resist life, and a little bit DPS if you can put, obviously. So let's start with helmet. First of all, because this is a little bit aura stack build, because more armor evasion meaning more DPS because of Perseverance Belt. More aura effect obviously meaning more max resist for purity, and also Melding of Flesh. More aura effect means more DPS because we use anger, hatred, precision, all of those at the same time. So aura effect is a good choice. So it was easy to put on a helmet, that's why I picked a Sensitize, Implicit Base, Non-Curse Aura helmet. These are like 100 chaos, I believe, the bases. Some of them are already crafted, by the way. So I just used the essence that you are seeing on the screen until I hit spell suppression. You can also maybe go for some resistances if you think your other pieces are gonna be worse, maybe. So maybe you should craft this helmet first. That is what actually I did. Then I get help from a TFT, Forbidden Throw Discord. What is that? Labyrinth Service booster. I just gave the helmet. It took him, you know, a couple of hours to hit that Molten Strike, 2 additional projectiles. That was the enchant I chose, because this is a Molten Strike build. Do you need to play Molten Strike? No. You can probably put another skill that is viable, obviously. Don't try some stupid stuff. I actually tried Lightning Strike while mapping. It was fine. You can do also that, but maybe on bossing it shouldn't be that good. So yeah, if you think something else is better, just, you know, make a character in Path of Building, maybe work on my Path of Building. Try other skills. If you think that the DPS is fine, get another enchant maybe. So that is pretty much it. For the implicit, I just, not implicit, for the prefix, I just put +1 socket AoE. The life roll was already bad, so this helmet wasn't that crazy actually. I just put that +1 so I can actually put my determination, grace, those kind of auras in this one, so they can actually get +1 level, so more armor evasion, more DPS, because we use Perseverance Belt. You can skip that, just craft a regular helmet, suppress, reservation. Maybe you can also skip reservation, by the way. If you use a maybe small cluster with reservation, that will make things super easier actually, because again we use 3 rare jewels which grants us DPS. You can just skip maybe 2 of them, get a small cluster with those points, fix that mana issue. You can easily skip this mana reservation on the helmet, craft something else entirely. Alright, next, body armor. If you are playing with Melding of the Flesh, this will cost you a little bit, depending on your luck maybe. This usually takes like a couple of Exile to craft, unfortunately. The implicit, because we also need aura effect plus purity at the same time. You maybe also need to use some Orb of Conflict to make a higher tier of something. Probably non-curse aura, so all of your auras can actually get boosted. You need to calculate your character, you know, once you craft something good, you know, a body armor, put it on your Path of Building, see if you can get more max resist maybe. So this is how I achieved 87 resist. I believe even if I have the maximum values on this implicit, I still have 87. I couldn't hit 88, I guess. That's why I just stopped like this. So non-curse plus your purity of choice. If you don't use Melding of Flesh, you don't need this kind of body armor. You can still get the implicit, obviously, non-curse aura, but put something else on the other one. Or just get a Redeemer base body armors. They can already have 25% aura effect, which is actually better maybe, without Melding of Flesh. So yeah. Again, suppress, life, resist. Maybe other implicits if you don't need purity, if you are not playing with Melding of Flesh. If you play with maybe Redeemer bases, you can obviously use Awakener Orb to combine that with something else. You shouldn't need attack crit because Brittle already caps it. Maybe something else on the other influence types. Just check Path of Exile database if you want to use those kind of stuff. But if you use Melding of Flesh, if you want more maximum resist, this is the kind of chest you probably need to use. Glows. This is the easiest piece. You can maybe put some DPS. That is what I did. Damage while leeching. Because there are not much stuff. But if you just skip that, this is gonna be very easy to get. Just keep your resistances suppressed on your glows. That is something that I highly suggest you to do that. If you think your resists are fine, you can maybe try searching this kind of stuff. Damage while leech, flask damage. What is that? Increased damage while you have a flask. So some June unveil modifiers actually on the prefix because they actually provide some DPS. For the implicits, again, Searing Exarch, Eater of Worlds, currencies, you may wanna use those. This is a strike skill, so I put strike additional target, 1 additional. If you use conflicts orbs, you can actually do that plus 2 additional. Maybe you can do that. I didn't need that actually. Maybe if you want to do more maps with this character, yeah, you can go for that. I also put some exposure. This build deals cold and fire damage mostly. Fire is actually better, but I got hit. I got that cold hit. What is that? Cold exposure on it, yeah. That's why I was like, okay, this is enough because the DPS difference is so little. If you put a fire exposure instead, let's say, you don't need that DPS, alright? I was like, okay, this is enough. The DPS was already nice. But theoretically, that fire exposure is actually better. In Path of Building, you can just check it. If you want to bother with that, just do that. But the DPS difference is so little, you know, you won't even notice it. So cold exposure is also fine. Maybe if you can apply exposure somewhere else, maybe frost bomb. I'm not sure if that makes any sense. If you want to use that at all, maybe you can use another implicit on your gloves. I don't know. What else? Rings. Yeah, that was it. I already explained the unset ring, anyways, but I will just show that again. So plus 2 or 3 pocketed gems. So this is where your purity is gonna be. If you are using Melding of Flesh, again, if you don't want to use Melding of Flesh, if you want to play this build for way cheaper, just skip unset ring. Skip Melding of Flesh, skip Purity, and just use a regular ring. So this is an elemental build, so you can maybe put elemental damage with attacks, blood damage, fire, cold, lightning, those kind of DPS stats. Crit multiplier on the suffix, that can also help, or attack speed. So those are some good stats on rings actually. After that, obviously life, resist, and that's it. This build also needs a little bit intelligence, so make sure you also put that on one of your items, or you may want to keep some DPS on 3 maybe and fix that intelligence from the talent tree, maybe get 30 intelligence, passive, something like that. That's it. I'll just explain maybe Path of Building real quick, and that's gonna be it. So right now we are in Path of Building. Because this is an aura build, let's say a little bit aura stacking, I just got a brutal restraint. I believe this is the correct number, so I will just edit it if this is wrong. You can maybe just search for the same stuff because this wasn't that crazy. I will just share this number with you guys, but it is probably gonna be hard to find the exact number. So you normally find these jewels from TFT Discord. People just sell these, or just use divine orbs until you hit something. So yeah, that is a little bit challenging. You don't need the commander, you know, it can be Balbala. This was Balbala. It can be, what is that, Asenat, whatever. It doesn't matter because we don't get any keystone. We just want to search for some aura effects. This one had aura effect here, 8%. And also here. So the more the better. You can just maybe get at least one of these. If you played maybe armor sticker, you already know what the deal is. So just try to get as much as non-curse aura as you can. This also had some elemental damage here. So yeah, a fine jewel in the end. So definitely an upgrade for this build if you want to min-max. So other than that, some clusters. I just want some life leech. That's why I put Feed the Fury. So I can actually leech life. I actually skipped again mana leech. As you can see, this character doesn't have any mana leech because you don't need. Hiltless already has life tap support, which will mean that your Molten Strike is gonna be free actually. So you can already recover the mana if you just put maybe totem, something else. If you just spend a little bit mana, that will just get regenerated automatically because other stuff doesn't consume anything. So yeah, you only worry about life leech. So Fit to Free is one of the best notables, and Martial Prowess. If you get this combination, you can actually skip Calamicious, which actually provides DPS, but obviously we spend more stuff on Talent Tree, so this is a good combination to skip some points. This is how you have less projectile speed, projectile mastery. That is also here, you can also pick this. If you are at lower level, maybe you can skip these 3 passives here, reduce projectile speed mostly. Just get the mastery here instead, maybe skip some points here. As you can see, I already got some strength because it is a little bit hard to get strength and intelligence at the same time. But my intelligence was already fine because my ring already provides intelligence. What else? Another cluster. This was actually better, I believe. That's why I picked this. This was cheap. No one uses this combination. You can just pick anything you want. Just check Path of Building yourself. You know, craft your own jewels and see what provides what DPS. This was providing some double damage. That's why I wanted more RNG DPS. That's why I picked this combination with Calamicious and also Martial Prowess. This is actually very nice. Martial Prowess, as you can see, it provides huge DPS. This is per ball. What's this? Nice DPS actually. But again, I couldn't get those even though my character was 97. So yeah, this is a good combination in that. If you have a little higher level, maybe you can also get this. So yeah, just use another cluster. As long as you get at least 1 Fit to Free, you can get anything you want. Anything that provides DPS for this build. Again, just craft your own jewels in Path of Building. That is what you should do. Just don't follow everything blindly. Yeah. Interrogation, already explained this. Brittle for crit. Scorch for penetration, obviously. Step for damage reduction. Effect of non-damage elements. This is important, so you can actually apply higher effects of those kind of ailments for Secret of Suffering. So make sure you get this mastery as soon as possible. That's it, nothing else to explain. Again, I use a couple of rare jewels. 200 damage, 200 multiplier, crit multiplier. Do not get melee multiplier because it doesn't work for magma balls because they are actually projectiles. So yeah, 200 multi, global multi, fire multiplier and elemental multiplier. Those are the best stats. Life, attack speed, anything that is related to 200 also works. Make sure you get a corrupt blood immunity so you don't die to those. Because I actually didn't use any life flask. You don't need on this build. But on some bosses, if you just maybe dodge some stuff on, you know, Maven, Cirrus, those kind of stuff, actually having a life flask can help because you cannot heal yourself without doing anything. So maybe you can use a life flask instead of one of these, but you will probably miss some DPS. Not much actually. Midnight Flask is actually worse, it seems. So yeah, maybe you can skip Steam Knight and use a life flask. It will maybe also get... I'm not sure if you can put gain charge when you are hit by an enemy on a life flask. Let's just also check that, and that's gonna be end of the video anyways. Flask, life, eternal, let's see if there's... Yeah, it seems that you can also abuse life flask with this modifier. So maybe you use something like this. Let's just put it here. Hit corrupt blood immunity so you don't have to worry about the jewel also. I will just also put this flask here. Maybe you can consider using this instead of Steam Knight or something. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new to the channel. I will try to do more guides, obviously. If you want to chat with me and other POE players, make sure you are in my Discord. That is where I talk to people all the time. Thanks for watching. I will see you later. Bye bye.